We're so close! More Starship launch information. Will SpaceX succeed? SpaceX's road to 100 launches and Rocket Lab is back in the game. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It? Let's dive right in. Welcome to Starbase. SpaceX set itself the goal of developing the largest rocket ever, and on top of that, to make the same rocket fly multiple times per day. As we eagerly await the launch clearance for the second launch, Mother Nature has thrown us a curveball, plunging the temperatures in Boca Chica from almost 32 degrees Celsius or 89 Fahrenheit to a chilly 7 Celsius or 45 Fahrenheit overnight. But every cloud has a silver lining, or in this case, a silver wave. The chilly weather has stirred up some truly spectacular waves, proving that Texas isn't always about the heat. The second orbital Starship is still split in half, with Ship 25 patiently waiting on the ground. There is speculation that SpaceX might be anticipating a green light from the FAA any moment now and could be prepped out to fit the rocket with the flight termination system as soon as it drops. However, given the recent rapid pace of Starship stacking, it is quite possible that by the time you're watching this colossal ship will be once again mounted atop Booster 9. Now, you might be wondering what makes me think that a Starship launch license might be on the horizon this month. Here's the scoop. On October 31st, the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, dropped some tantalizing news. They wrapped up the safety review for Starship's upcoming launch. That's the launch license, right? We're all set. Not so fast. There is still a crucial box left to tick. Can you guess which one? That's right, it is the assessment from the US Fish and Wildlife Service regarding the water deflector system. While we're still on tenterhooks for that, fingers everywhere are crossed that within the next 2 weeks, this final requirement holding the launch will be checked off. With the launch now around the corner, it is worth revisiting some issues from the inaugural flight and delve into how SpaceX has learned from their mistakes for the second liftoff. The glaring issue from the previous launch was undeniably the water deluge system, or lack thereof. Prior to the launch, SpaceX engineers were confident that the concrete beneath the launch pad would withstand the force from all 33 Raptors blasting directly onto it. However, in a twist that might have made for a dramatic movie scene, it didn't. Concrete fragments were flying literally everywhere. Yet, Elon Musk was quick to reassure us that the flying debris didn't affect the integrity of the Starship. This revelation was a mixed bag. On the upside, Starship wasn't damaged. On the downside, that meant that any subsequent issues that arose during the flight were just issues with the design, not the result of debris damage. The debut flight of Starship has revealed quite a few such design errors that seem to have been addressed with the updated Booster 9 and Ship 25 design. Our main concern was fire, which engulfed the engine compartment, evident in SpaceX's own footage. The fire is supposed to be coming from the engine's nozzle, not from above. Several theories floated around about the origin of this rogue fire. One key factor was likely the weak engine shielding that was retrofitted to Booster 7, a component not included in the original design. This shielding didn't entirely insulate the Raptors from their neighbors, so any leak or minor explosion could rapidly cause a massive fire. Moreover, during liftoff, the vented gaseous methane and oxygen from Starship likely travels to the engine bay's upper section. Once there, these gases incinerated the wires that connected the engines to the onboard computer, rendering it at least partially inoperable. Interestingly, Booster 7 was already equipped with a purge system designed to vent out these gases using carbon dioxide. But as the flight revealed, it was inadequate. Hence, Booster 9 and Ship 25 now boast an enhanced CO2 purging system. This revamped system is supposedly 10 times more powerful than the one from the previous stack, and we've already observed its effectiveness in recent tests. Beyond the fire that likely ended the flight, the next most significant challenge was the engine's gimballing system. Thrust vector control, or TVC, is essential for rocket steering. It physically moves the engines, allowing for different maneuvers. This mechanism also ensures that the rocket ascends straight up, counteracting its natural tendency to tumble. However, tumbling was precisely what we saw during the first launch. Many thought that this was an attempt to separate the vehicles, where in fact it was a loss of vehicle control. It was so funny when everybody was like, yeah, it's gonna separate. Oh, it's trying it again. Oh, it's trying it again. And I was like, no. To prevent such mishaps during the next launches, SpaceX has rolled out 2 essential modifications. Engines are now equipped with a backup connection, routed differently from the main one. This design ensures communication with the engines even if a fire spreads through the engine compartment. The teams at Starbase also made a significant effort to isolate the engines from each other. Booster 7 used 2 hydraulic power units, or HPUs, responsible for providing hydraulic fluid to the thrust vector control units. This hydraulic fluid subsequently moved the pistons that actuated the engines. That system had one crucial vulnerability. If one HPU malfunctioned, the other one had to take over its load, and if both failed, the rocket's steering would be paralyzed. Enter Booster 9 with its electric TVC. In this setup, engine gimbaling is done using actuators, basically a screw powered by an electric motor. With no hydraulic fluid needed, this step allowed for the elimination of the HPUs and thus make each engine independent. So if one engine were to catastrophically fail, gimbaling of the rest would be unaffected. The reliability of the engines assigned for the upcoming flight is debatable. Booster 7 largely used early production engines with many bearing serial numbers below 100. The highest engine number on that booster was Raptor number 105. With how long it was in production, Booster 9 also doesn't feature the most recent engines. Some date back to Raptor serial number 73, though the majority possesses numbers exceeding 100, the highest being 186.
But Felix, 186 sounds like a rather high number.
Oh, believe me, it is not. To show you just how far behind they are, take a look at this photo taken by NASA Deputy Administrator Pamela Melroy during her review of the human landing system progress at SpaceX's Hawthorne facility. In the background, you can see 4 Raptor vacuum-optimized engines. They have serial numbers reaching up to 390. This suggests that SpaceX is potentially working on their 400th Raptor. The pace of progress is staggering, especially considering that the 200th engine was produced barely a year ago. This puts the Raptor production rate at 1 engine approximately every 2 days, an impressive number. Another massive difference between the 2 orbital stacks is the newly incorporated hot staging ring. During the inaugural flight, the separation system wasn't tested, given that the rocket never reached the correct altitude to do so. Nevertheless, some data received by the engineers likely raised some concerns, prompting them to radically change the separation process. In the upcoming flight, the Starship's upper stage will ignite its engines while still connected to the booster. Not joking. The hope is that by disengaging the clamps, the rocket will separate on its own, eliminating the need for specialized pusher mechanisms, for example found on Falcon 9. Thankfully, the hot staging ring has been designed with modularity in mind. This means it connects to the booster in much the same way as the ship does. In case this method of separation doesn't work, the ring can easily be detached, allowing for a return to the prior system. Finally, there's the new flight termination system. The one used in the April launch did technically explode, but its task was to terminate the flight immediately, not 2 minutes later. A new FTS setup was later developed and tested on the B6 test tank at Massey's test site. All these changes aim to ensure that the second flight doesn't come to an abrupt end, or if it has to, that there actually is an abrupt end. My prediction is that we'll uncover a slew of fresh issues when the ship eventually separates, however progress demands trial and error. What are your thoughts? Do you believe that the second Starship can succeed in its mission? How far will it go? Share your opinions in the comments below. Now let's embark on a brief tour of the production site, since every Starship originates from here. Beginning with the high bay, there are signs that Ship 30 might soon make its way to the Massey's test site. By comparing images taken a few days back with those from October 30th, you can see that the first ship lifting point has been sealed. It's anticipated that the remaining lift points will soon undergo the same treatment. Drawing parallels with Ship 29, shortly after its lifting points were covered, it was moved to Massey's for cryo testing. The remaining two prototypes, Ship 31 and 32, are still in their construction phases. Considering how things are moving here, it is possible that both will stay in the high bay until the end of this year. Adjacent to the high bay is the mega bay. Presently, it houses boosters bearing the serial numbers 10, 12, and 13. In our latest episode, I highlighted the addition of a second engine installation stand mounted towards the rear of the first mega bay. Now, with a third one under construction, we speculated that SpaceX might be leaning towards equipping each mega bay with 2 engine stands. However, a gifted 3D artist, whom many will recognize as Chrome Kiwi on X, has introduced an alternative theory. He suggested that rather than equipping both bays with 2 stands, the first mega bay might house 3 installation stands. These would then be connected via platforms. I quite like this concept. If this vision materializes, it could set the stage for the Starship production line previously hinted at by Elon Musk and Gwynne Shotwell. By using dedicated stands for single tasks and further expanding the Star Factory, the prospect of rolling out 3 Starships every week doesn't seem too far-fetched. Will there ever be a demand to justify the production of more than 1 Starship per week? That's a question for a future episode. Be sure to give Chrome Kiwi a follow on X, his work is worth it. Shifting our focus to the Sanchez side, aerial imagery thanks to Redline Heli suggests that the ground fabrication building is nearing completion. Want to book your own ride at Starbase and see these things in person, or just enjoy one of the coolest views in the world? Go to redlineheli.com/Felix, you'll find the link in the description. After flying myself for the first time, I recommend it even more. It is crazy. From these pictures, it is apparent that only a segment of the building on the right-hand side is awaiting its roof tiles. Given that the gates are already in place, we anticipate this building to be functional shortly, exposing its designated purpose. Venturing further down Highway 4, you'll eventually stumble upon a side road that will guide you towards Massey's test site. We recently mentioned the introduction of subcoolers at this location, but that's just one of many intriguing developments at the former gun range. Over the past few weeks, the buzz of activity has been focused around the construction of a new building. Recently, its metal framework has been erected, sparking our interest. Nearby, you can see a few stacks of tiles. These will form the walls and the roof of this structure. A peek inside reveals a platform of sorts, coupled with what seems to be a staircase. The actual purpose of this building remains a mystery. What do you think? Is it a mere storage space, or does it have a bigger objective? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I read as many as I can. And here's a little task for you. YouTube might have unsubscribed you without your knowledge. Not kidding, they seem to do this frequently. Very important task, double check that subscribe button so that you don't miss our updates. While you're checking, hit the like button and consider becoming a wise supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. No matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, now including aerial and ground photos of SpaceX's progress and countless other extras on top. The next flyover will likely happen on the day you watch this episode. The link to our Patreon page is in the description. Thanks to all the supporters who help fulfill dreams for our team. We can't thank you enough. You rock. Link 2 is giving you the opportunity to invest in the future of human spaceflight. Axiom Space, the only company that will be building a private space station in collaboration with NASA and creating the lunar EVA suits for the Artemis program, is now available to invest in on the Link 2 platform. Private equity used to be restricted to just the ultra-wealthy, but Link 2 has changed the game, removing barriers for every investor. All you have to do is sign up to get started. Link 2 is committed to democratizing access to private equity investments on a global scale. Now, we're not financial advisors, you should totally get one though, But what gives me peace of mind is that Link2 always invests in the companies first and only offers companies that they can fully stand behind. Link2 has skin in the game. Consider starting your private equity portfolio today, and Y viewers get a special $500 discount. Scan the QR code on your screen or go to link2.com/y to secure your $500 discount off your first investment into any of the leading space tech companies on Link2. Link2, private investing made simple. It feels like ages since we delved into the world of Starlinks. With launches becoming almost routine, many enthusiasts are now glossing over them. However, occasionally they still yield some very interesting insights. This past month alone, we witnessed the launch of 8 Starlink missions, adding an impressive 175 V2 mini satellites to the internet-providing constellation. These launches bring the total satellite count to slightly above 5,000, a huge number achieved in merely 4 years since the maiden operational launch in 2019. Starlink Group 6-25, the most recent of these missions, was the 200th launch of a refurbished booster, a feat once deemed nearly impossible. This mission also was SpaceX's 79th launch for the year. With one additional launch of Starship, if SpaceX were to launch 10 Falcons each in both November and December, they'd be right on track to meet their outright crazy target of 100 missions in 2023. Is this a feasible target? Absolutely. Given that we witnessed 10 launches in September and another 9 in October, even if the total doesn't reach exactly 100, it is poised to hover in the high 90s. SpaceX's pace is nothing short of spectacular. Yet, 100 missions in 2023 is just the beginning. SpaceX has even greater ambitions for 2024, targeting a jaw-dropping 144 missions. Here is hoping they rise to the challenge. Segueing back to the most recent mission, it lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40, or SLIC 40, located at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. If it's been a while since you last tuned into a launch from this site, you might spot an addition to the infrastructure that wasn't there before. Adjacent to the 4 massive lightning rods, a suspicious tower has been constructed over the last few months. What's its purpose? It's in fact a second crew tower. Currently, SpaceX has the capability to launch their Dragon capsules solely from Florida's LC-39A. The reason being, it's the only SpaceX pad equipped with a crew arm required for boarding the capsule. LC-39A being the only operational launch site in the United States capable of launching crew poses a few challenges. Firstly, launches to the International Space Station are occasionally subject to delays due to various reasons, like crew medical problems or leaks in the capsule itself. Such delays can bottleneck the entire launch facility, restricting SpaceX from launching other missions. This becomes an even bigger issue given that LC-39A is the lone pad capable of supporting a Falcon Heavy launch. You see how these things can stack up? While the slowed down launch cadence can be a pain, there is an even bigger concern. This very launch complex is where SpaceX has constructed the second Starship tower. Given the potential risks associated with Starship launches, especially rocky tornadoes, it's hardly surprising that NASA might be wary of SpaceX testing Starship in close proximity to the US sole active launch tower. In light of this, a few months ago, SpaceX started the assembly of crew tower segments at the Roberts Road facility, the same one where the second Starship tower was built. After assembly, these segments were transported and installed at SLIC 40. The finishing touch, the crew access arm, is yet to be lifted. However, from what we know, its installation is imminent. By the time you're watching this, it might already be complete. The tower was supposed to support at least one mission this year. As the next commercial resupply services mission is just days away, it's unlikely that we'll see a Dragon launch from SLIC 40 this year. Nevertheless, with Crew 8 and CRS-30 slated for early next year, the newly built tower is set to be operational in the upcoming months. With a backup tower, and once Starship makes its orbital debut, LC-39A should be ready for more action. This paves the way for potential static fires or perhaps even launches from Florida in 2024. I can't wait to see it. Speaking of launches, Rocket Lab is back in the game. In September, they embarked on a mission called We Will Never Desert You. Regrettably, the mission was cut short due to a second stage shutdown shortly after Electron separation. Currently, the exact cause behind the failure remains unknown. However, the silver lining is that the FAA has given a green light to Rocket Lab to continue launches from Launch Complex 1. While the investigation is projected to span a few more weeks, the company wants to see Electron take to the skies once more before the end of this year. If the original schedule hasn't changed, Rocket Lab's upcoming mission is named The Moon God Awakens. The mission's cargo, another SAR satellite, specifically QPS-SAR-5. Initially slated to launch aboard the Launcher 1 rocket. As Virgin Orbit doesn't exist anymore, the company had to find another launch provider, with Rocket Lab saving the day. I hope Peter Beck's company will be able to find the core issues responsible for the second stage failure, propelling them back into a trajectory of successful launches. That's it for today. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and it helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Flector of the Flecky. During the inaugural, it is inaugural. I can do this. Trust me. Yes.